Hi guys, it's Jordan from B&B Campers. I'm just going to do your handover video on your Elnagh Marlin. So this particular vehicle is based on the Fiat Ducato 2004 and I will just show you through under the bonnet first. So we've got your engine battery or your starter battery over here on the left hand side. Brake fluid up here attached to the servo just behind there. Your engine oil filling point is just there behind this little cover, and the engine oil dipstick is down here with the yellow top. Power steering fluid sits in this reservoir just here, and you can just about see at the perfect level just there between minimum and maximum. You've got some fuses and relays behind here. You don't really need to know anything about these ones because this is just Fiat related. The actual motorhome side of things, so the fuses for that will be inside the vehicle somewhere. The white paint colour on the vehicle, on the cab here, is Fiat 249. The rest of it is very slightly different because it has actually got a wrap on it, so it won't be exactly 249, but it is very, very close. But yeah, this sort of panel colour on the front here is Fiat White 249. Engine coolant is this reservoir just here, and again you can see perfect level just there. The engine's cold at the moment, so that's how we need to check it. More fuses and relays under this box just here. Again, this is Fiat related, so you don't need to worry about that. Air filter sits inside this box here on the right, and your washer fluid is topped up to the very top there and sits over there on the right hand side. So your diesel filling point on this particular vehicle, on all the Fiat Ducatos of this age, is just here on the near side, and you will need your ignition key to get that to open up. You've then got, the first bit we get to on the near side is your freshwater filling point. Well, I've got this loosened off at the moment, but when you want to lock it up, you push in and round to the right until it stops, and then you can lock it by putting the key in and turning it. You've then got your hookup point. So the electric hookup here, once you've plugged the hookup into the vehicle, you will then have access to any 240 volt appliances. I don't think there are many in this particular vehicle, but when you your leisure battery will be getting charged when you plug the hookup in. So if you do run a little bit low on the leisure battery, plug the hookup in and you'll have some charge going into it. Other than that, the 240 volt plug sockets inside will also need that to work. But that's about it really on this particular one. Oh, and the fridge actually as well. You can use the fridge on the mains if you should want to. I'll show you how to do that when we get inside. We've got this vent just here, which I have got the cover with. A lot of these tend to go missing, but obviously being well looked after. So this is the cover. This is the vent here for the boiler. So this isn't to do with the heating. This is just the boiler. So just the hot water. The way to put this on is you lift up from the bottom, so make sure it's tucked in at the bottom, and then tap it over just like that. So that is the way to do it, nice and easy. This is just a winter cover basically, so you will need to take this off if you want to use the boiler. You will need to take that off, otherwise it will not light up. It needs to draw in air from the top, so that's why you need that off. So the toilet cassette locker, the actual cassette itself is super simple. You've got a freshwater flush on this particular system, which means you haven't got a separate flush fluid to worry about. So the only fluid you need to think about is the blue that goes inside the cassette once you've emptied it. So if I show you how to take this out and empty it, you've got a little yellow tab at the bottom. Lift up on the yellow tab and pull the cassette towards you. You'll then be able to take it all the way out. All you need to know from there is that you twist this to get this to come out towards us, take this yellow cap off, and that is where you drain the cassette from. When you're physically draining it out, you should be holding the little yellow button there at the back, and that will allow it to come out a lot easier and, you know, without any mess basically. Various lockers around the vehicle will have these rubber seals going around the inside. The same for on the cassette. You've got this little flap here which also needs lubricating, so any rubber basically, including the bit on the cassette there, the rubber around these doors, the on the water cap as well, got a big rubber washer on the back of here. This is all rubber, see? So any rubber bits and pieces like that need a silicone lubricant, which is basically, you can get it from any, you know, Halfords or online, whichever. Silicone lubricant, and what it does is it lubricates and keeps this rubber from perishing. So essentially, you know, if you didn't ever silicone lubricate the flap in here for the toilet cassette, so that rubber seal, if you didn't silicone lubricate that, after a little while it will dry up, and the seal between the toilet inside and the cassette will start to break up, and you'll start to get the stuff that you put in the toilet, if you like, coming out from there and around into the locker rather than into the cassette. So same kind of idea with the locker doors as well, apart from, you know, not dirty waste there, but, you know, if this starts to perish, any water that runs down the vehicle and onto here won't get stopped by this. It'll just run straight in and into the cupboard, which is where you start to get damp problems. So it's really important. One of the most important things I like to say about in the videos, if you're a motorhome owner, it's just a silicone lubricant spray is just an absolute godsend. So I would definitely invest in one. They're only cheap, you don't have to spend much on them. Right, so at the back here underneath, you've got your waste drain off. So you've got the black handle just up there. That's where you actually pull it out to open up the waste tank. And then you've got this pipe coming across here, which you can obviously put back up into the straps up there so they don't just flop around. But that's how you drain out your wastewater underneath on the near side, on the off side, sorry, not the near side. The freshwater drain will more than likely be inside the tank, which is under the rear facing seat side of there, but we'll get to that in a minute. We've just got some storage in here. I don't think I need to open that up. It's, you know, it's got the carpets in there. If you wanted to put the carpets back down, that's where they are. All right, so the gas locker in here, you've got space for, by the looks of it, two 13 kilo propane bottles if you wanted them. But to be honest, a pair of these 6 kilos is always plenty. You're never going to go away for long enough to need more than that, I shouldn't think. So the way to use these bottles, really, really simple. It's the same on all of them, really. So to turn it on, we go anti-clockwise around to the left. So that turns the bottle on. And to close it off, to turn the gas off, we go clockwise around to the right. So you've got a 2023 dated pigtail hose here as well, which is this part. And that means that you've got till 28 to replace that, because you get 5 years on those. All of the other bits and pieces on the regulator here you can ignore, because that's all just for our testing purposes. You don't need to do anything with those. And so when you come to running out gas in this bottle, all you need to do is switch the bottle off, undo this big nut here, and the end of the pigtail hose will come out basically. Pop it onto the new one, tighten it up, give it a little nip up with the spanner, and you're good to go again. So that is honestly it. I will say that you should always turn the gas off before you start driving. That's something I'm, you know, always talk about, because the last thing you want, if you crash this vehicle, the last thing you want is 30 millibars of gas pumping out, because it's a lot more than it sounds. Right, so in the cab, it's pretty straightforward. These particular cabs, the 2001 to 2007s, are relatively basic, if I'm honest, but very, very reliable, in my opinion. Probably the most reliable of the chassis so far. So we've got on the left hand side here, we've got your lights and indicators from this left hand stalk. You've then got your washers and wipers on the right. You've got the manual windows here. Reversing camera screen is up there in the middle as well. 5-speed manual gearbox. Reverse is lift up on the back here, over and up to the top left hand side for reverse. You've then got all of your standard heater controls in there. That's all standard Fiat stuff, and a nice single DIN JBC head unit up there. The hazard warning lights are from there in the middle, and what else? So under here is your bonnet release handle and your steering column adjustment handle there as well. I will also just mention that behind this little cover here, so you've got these two screws if you take this little cover off, it gives you really good access to the OBD reader, so your fault code reader, basically. So if you ever had a fault code come up on the dashboard, then you can really easily get to it and check what it is. And I think it might even be easier and be in there. Yeah. So under that, behind this little cover here, actually, is the OBD reader. But behind this little cover here is loads of fuses and things. So yeah, I mean, obviously come back to us if you get any issues, but if you wanted to just check it yourself, plug it in, you can do it from in there. Okay, so I'm just going to get into the actual motorhome now and show you a few bits. So we did sell this to the previous owner, and so we have sort of looked after it in the past. So yeah, nice basic vehicle. Nothing major to go wrong with it is the main thing I would say. Elnagh, we've been dealing with them for years and years and years now. We don't sort of deal with them anymore. I don't even know if they're a company now, but part of the SIA group, if I'm correct, and we've been to do with them for years. So Elnagh use lots of CBE parts, as you can see. So CBE is one of the best brands for control panels, for sockets and switches and things like that. They use them in all the big brands like Concord and all that sort of stuff. They all use them, Cartago. So yeah, very, very reliable little units. There will more than likely be because of the CBE control panel there's probably a CBE fuse box and a CBE power supply unit somewhere. But yeah, you don't really need to know any of that, but it's just basically very, very reliable kit. So this is your main control panel, and all you've really got is main on and off switches here for the lights and for the water pump. The rest of it is all checking your levels and telling you what's going on, basically. So once you turn these two switches here on the left hand side on, we can then go ahead and use the lights. We can draw the water through the tap to get the pump going and get the boiler up to pressure. But those are the two main switches that you're going to want to turn on. Once you've turned those on, you will also have power go into any of the 12 volt sockets. Basically anything that works from 12 volt, anything that needs the leisure battery to work will come to life as soon as you turn those two switches on there. In fact, they'll come to life as soon as you turn the main light switch on there. And the reason I say that is because if you're not actually using the pump, it's always a good practice to just switch it off so the light goes off there. Just because if the pump was to just be running on without you knowing, it could burn out and you have to buy a new pump. Right, so the rest of it is, so you've got this little light here which will come on if the waste tank is full up. And then we've got these two things here. So this is shaped like a water tank with 1, 2, 3 and 4 lights to tell you how full it is. So if I press up on this one here, that's telling us that the fresh tank is empty. All right, and if I press down, showing us that the waste tank is also empty. Okay, if I press up here again, look here again, we're pressing up on number 1. And if we look at this little graph here, or the little symbols, it's telling us that the number 1 is checking the engine battery. Okay, so this battery here is the one we're looking at, and it's showing us 3/4 full. If I press down on here, number 2, it's showing us the leisure battery voltage because you've got a caravan on it, and that's at full power. Now the reason that one there, so basically the reason that the engine battery isn't showing us full power, but the leisure battery is because you've got a solar panel on the roof, which is charging up the leisure battery as we speak. So if you ever go to check the battery's voltages and the leisure battery is higher than the engine, that's the reason why, because you've got a solar panel pumping power into it. So the last bit on the control panel is this last light up here on the top right hand side, which is just telling you the electric hookup is plugged in. So because that isn't lit up at the moment, I won't have access to using any 3-pin sockets like these ones. I won't have access to using the microwave. What else have we got that works on mains? I can't use the fridge on the 230 volt here at the moment because the hookup isn't plugged in. and also the battery charger isn't on. If I wanted those things to be, to come to life, I would have to put the hookup in, and as soon as you plug the hookup in, everything that that I've just said about will just come straight to life. As soon as you plug the hookup in, this should come to life. As I said. Right, so that's the control panel. So as I was saying, all I need to actually have on is this main light switch on over here, and then I've got access to every bit of power that I need anyway. So for the minute, I'm just going to leave that on as it is. Assuming that you've turned the gas on in the cupboard, you will then be able to come to the 3-burner hob here and light any 3 of these up. You will need an igniter or a clicker of some kind to light any of these up, because there isn't an ignition on this system. And it is literally as simple as pushing it in and turning it whilst you're putting a lighter on it. I normally recommend, the long reach candle lighters is the easiest way to do that, just so you don't burn your fingers basically. But yeah, so 3-burner hob, nice and easy, pretty straightforward. And the only other thing I will say is please try to wait to put this lid down until these have cooled down, because if you imagine what happens with glass when if you get it really, really hot and then pour cold water on it, it cracks, shatters, whatever. Same kind of idea here. If you put this lid down, either on one of these that's actually on, or just as bad if you've just turned one of them off, if you put the lid straight down, cold on top, hot on bottom, it'll crack, it'll shatter. So yeah, it's not the end of the world if that does happen. We can get hold of another one of these, but I can tell you it makes a hell of a mess, so you probably don't want to you don't want it to happen. The sink is just as straightforward. Now obviously this has got hot water on board as well, so the way it works, and I will just say I haven't got any water in the fresh tank, so I can't actually physically show you it working, but I will just explain to you how it works. It's so simple. So what you need to do, the boiler itself sits in this wardrobe down here at the bottom. That's what this grey circular box thing is here. So this is a gas only hot water boiler. It's a Truma Ultra Heat, sorry, not Ultra Heat, Ultra Store. So the way that this works is it's got 10 litres inside of it, so it'll fill itself up. When you turn the pump on, it will fill itself up, and once it's full up, you'll get hot water, or you'll get water coming through the hot side of the tap. Now you've got down here the little yellow tab, which is laying down flat at the moment. The reason it's laying down flat is because that means that any water you send to the boiler will stay inside of it and it will fill the boiler up. If I lifted that tab up, it would drain all the water, all 10 litres of water out of the boiler straight onto the floor. So that's your winter drain off point basically. So if you're going to be leaving the van over winter, you need to lift that little yellow tab upright so that all the water from the boiler drains out. Now the reason that's important is because if you leave that boiler full up and it freezes, you're going to be in a world of trouble, because it's essentially what's going to happen is all of the pipes, all of the bits and pieces inside the boiler, and in fact everywhere else, will expand when the water freezes and crack and break and start to leak basically. And so once the bits and pieces inside the boiler start to leak, there's not really much you can do apart from buy a new one. So that's really important to winter. That's what you call winterizing in a vehicle, and previous owner has kindly printed out our previous customer guides and things like that, which it does mention about winterizing on there. And also more recently I have done a video on the YouTube channel about how to winterize your vehicle, which might be an idea, just to have a little look through. I just like to mention it just in case you were interested in that, but there you go. So anyway, back to the boiler. So as long as you've made sure that the boiler drain is in the flat position where it is now, any water that you send to it by lifting the tap up on the hot side will stay inside of it. Okay, so to do that, to make sure that the boiler is full, we turn the pump back on. And as I said, this will not work for the moment because, well, I don't think it's going to work because I don't think I've got enough water in it. But what you do is make sure that you've got water in your fresh tank, like I showed you earlier. Press up and then have a look on this little scale here. If it's down on 0 like that, like I am now, you're going to want to put some fresh water in the tank by filling it up outside. So once you've done that, you come over here, pull the tap on the cold side. So we've got a little bit of water there, so you've got good pressure on the cold. Turn it to the hot, and we've got good pressure on the hot. Okay, so I'm not going to leave that going for too long, because I think that is literally the last little bit of water. But what's just happened there is exactly what you want to see. All right, so I turned the pump on, I pulled the tap open on the cold side, we had good pressure, turned it over to the hot, we also had good pressure. So what that means is that there's no leaks on either the cold side or the boiler hot side, and it means that we're up to pressure. The pump then switched itself off. I know the light's still on up there, but that just means that I've got the power going to it. If the pump turns, gets itself up to pressure and turns itself off, that's exactly what you want. Okay, so now that I've finished using the pump, I am just going to switch it off anyway, just because that's just what I do. But yeah, so now I've just proven to us that the boiler is full of water. Now, I feel like I'm sort of probably boring you a little bit with this, but the reason that you have to do that, and the reason that works, is that basically the way that it works is you've got the tank over here underneath this seat. And what happens is the pump draws water straight from the tank, and if you're drawing it through the cold side of the tap, it goes straight from the tank to the tap. When you turn the tap over to the hot side, it draws the water from the tank and then through the boiler and then to the tap. So if the boiler isn't full of water, you will not get water coming through the tap. So that's just a fail-safe way of making sure that the boiler is full. And the actual reason that you do it is that if you light the boiler up, like I'll show you now, if you light that boiler up and there's no water inside of it, it's just going to get too hot and burn, basically. It's exactly the same as if you go home tonight and put your kettle on with no water inside of it, you're going to be in trouble because it's going to burn, or something's going to go wrong. It'll overheat. All right, so once you've done that, if you want to heat the water up, just come inside the wardrobe here, and you've got the thing here that says Truma boiler. Now, it's literally as simple as this. You go up for 50 degrees of hot water. So you probably just heard it light straight up just then. Back to the middle turns it off. And then down is 70 degrees. It really is as simple as that. If it doesn't light up, you will get a little red light come up here telling you it's not working. But otherwise, that's it. All right, so I am going to leave that on just for a minute, just to make sure that warms up. Okay, now below this, we have got your space heater. So this is also a Truma system. This is what you would call the Truma Ultra Heat, although it hasn't got the symbols on it saying that. So this is the more kind of expensive version of this heater. Some of them don't have an electronic ignition, some of them don't have the fan heater part of it as well, but this one has got both. So to light this up, all you have to do is turn this dial round to kind of 1, 2 or 3. I just tend to go for about 3, and then have a look inside this little cubby hole kind of thing. Now in real life you can just about see a spark inside there. You can't really see it on the videos because of the frames, but all you have to do from there, once you can hear it clicking, push down on this button now, and if you watch what happens when I do that. So basically what I did was, I'm still holding this down by the way, what happened was the igniter came on, started igniting basically, and now I'm pressing this down and I've opened up the pilot flame. Okay, so now all I'm going to do is lift up on that. It's still on pilot flame, or it should be at least. There you go. And then I'm going to turn it around to kind of 7 or 8. So you can probably hear it. But what happened then was it went from pilot to main flame and just kicked in and started doing its thing, basically. That's it. So that is now the gas, the heater lit up and doing its job. If you want to disperse that heat nice and evenly around the van now, press this little button here to the left, and then you can select 1 to 5 as to how fast you want the fan to run. Okay, so now that I've done that, any of the little circular vents around the vehicle, like that one there, there's probably one up this end as well, I should think. I'm not sure where it would be. There will be one in the bathroom, just in there. And so as soon as I've done that, so I've got the heater on there, I've turned the gas on, I can see the flame inside this little viewing point there, if you want to call it that, and I've got the fan on. So now this heater is in full swing, pumping through heat to the circular vents. So that really is it. If you don't want to use it with the fan, you don't have to, but I will say that the amount of heat that comes out the front of these is incredible. So, you know, it's always something I like to, I would always prefer to use it with the fan personally, just because it's almost too hot when it comes out the front of here, whereas when you use the fan it kind of just pumps it around nice and evenly. But you know, they're made to work either way, so it's up to you. So to turn this off, all you have to do is turn this all the way back around the way you came until it stops, kind of facing 0. And then when you look in there, well, you've got no more flame. Right, so that's the gas heater switched off. Right, okay. I just turn the boiler off now as well. Close the back down. Right, you have also got, in this particular one, I will just show you the fridge in just a sec, but you've also got the grill and oven in here, in this kind of strange place to have it, I suppose, but there you go, this is obviously just where they decided to put it. Now you have got ignition on this particular system, so you push in and round to the left to light the oven up. In and round to the right for the grill, just about to see that. I think the spark's in the wrong place really for that oven, so we'll just move that in a minute. And there you go, so that's just that working. You've got the light in there as well. All of that's kind of self-explanatory really. I think it's the only thing I will say is that you should really have this little bit here out when you're using the grill. That's about it really. I'll sort that oven bit out in a minute. Didn't want to play ball. Okay, the last appliance to show you really is the fridge. So if I just open this up and show you that you've got the freezer compartment in there at the top, all working nicely. So this is a Dometic 3-way fridge. So this is a very, very standard style of fridge. At the bottom there will be a sticker. I'll just get my legs out of the way. There's a sticker down there which tells you the exact RM number. So there's an RM 7361 if I'm reading that correctly. So if you ever needed any parts for this fridge, that's the RM number that you'll need in order to get any parts. But obviously you can come to us for any problems or anything you want. But there you go. So when I said 3-way fridge, it means it works on 3 different energies. So you've got gas, which is on now, 230 volt, which is when you're hooked up on the mains, and 12 volt, which is when your engine is running. So if I'm just going to turn it off for now, just so I can show you it starting up from the very, very beginning. So you've got an electronic ignition on the gas here as well, which is another sort of modern thing that they don't all have. So to light it up on gas, assuming that you've got the power switched on the control panel and the gas on in the locker, all you have to do, turn it once to the right, and that's it. As long as the orange light inside the gas symbol there stays illuminated and just stays like that, it's working and it's lit. That's all you have to do. If it starts flashing at you, it means it hasn't quite lit up, and you can either just try it again for a couple of times, or just go through the standard troubleshooting stuff, like make sure the gas is on, make sure you've got enough gas in the bottle, and then obviously give us a ring if you get any other issues. But at the moment that is working absolutely perfectly. The next one down, 230 volt, will not show up any light at all because we haven't got the hookup plugged in. As soon as you plug the hookup cable in, that will then light up green, and then that's all you have to do. Okay, so for the gas and the mains, you just literally turn it and that's it. It will just do its job. The 12 volt is slightly different. You do still only just have to turn it and it will just start going, but you do have to make sure that the engine is physically running. And also, the 12 volt only really holds the temperature. It doesn't really get the fridge cold. So the idea is that you would cool the fridge down before you leave, you know, so whether that be overnight or for, you know, a good couple of hours before you leave, either on the gas or the mains, and then switch over to 12 volt just for when you're driving. The reason it only works when you're driving as well, just in case you were wondering, is that you've got what's called a split charger. So a split charger basically splits off the power that comes from the alternator to the engine, splits it off one way to the leisure battery, so that all the time your engine's running, the leisure battery is being charged up, and another way back to the fridge, so that you can physically keep the fridge cold via the engine as you drive. So that's the reason why it absolutely will not do anything at all until your engine's running on 12 volt. Okay, so that's how you use the fridge. In this locker down here, we've got your gas isolators. Now, I'll just run you through which ones are which, because you might not know what those symbols are. So the top one there is the 3-burner hob. Next one down is the fridge. You've then got the boiler, heater, and then the oven/grill. So if you wanted to isolate the gas from any of those appliances, turn it 90 degrees, and that is now gas completely isolated from the 3-burner hob. And that's back on. The bathroom is probably the last bit to show you. So the bathroom itself is super simple, like they always are. Now I don't tend to run through the shower and the sink, because I've already shown you that in the kitchen area, but it's just literally hot to the left, cold to the right, standard mixer taps. The toilet is only the bit that I tend to run through, because you might not have used one of them before. Got a light switch up here, like you see in the bathroom here. So yeah, all you've got really is a grey handle on the left hand side, which when you pull that towards you, that opens up this flap here into the cassette. Pushing it back closes that flap back over. And I will say that if you have that flap in the open position, you will not be able to take the cassette out from outside because it will be locked. And the only other bit is you've got the blue button at the back there, which is your flush fluid. So the pump needs to be switched on in order for that to work, because you've got a freshwater flush. But that's it. Nice and easy. Okay, so this has been reupholstered and it looks really nice, to be fair. Yeah, so I think I've pretty much covered everything. And if you think there's anything I've missed out or anything you'd like going over again, just let us know. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.